Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education, featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Tutoring Tips episode of the Prepped and Polished podcast. It's Anooj of Prepped and Polished. This is episode number 115, How to Get a 5 on the AP Biology exam. Please be sure to check out our website, www.preppedandpolished.com, for more information. While you're there, sign up for our free tutoring and test prep tips newsletter. It comes out monthly. You can join our Prepped and Polished community on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Prepped and Polished. You can submit a question during the show or after to radio@preppedandpolished.com. We love hearing from you. All right, so tip number 1, flashcards and content review. Get your hands on a Barron's or Princeton Review test prep book and start going through the content as quickly as possible. Focus on those topics that are really giving you trouble. And remember, the goal here is just to refresh. You've already done most of the learning during your AP exam course. Now you're just trying to pick up the facts that you've already learned and just kind of get that sense again that you had when you were taking the course. And you want to start building flashcards. So for stuff that you don't know, you're going through the content review and let's say you saw something about evolution or like some Darwin's theory and you didn't know about it. Write down a flashcard. Write down what it means and why it's important. And the best scenario is for you to take the course and build these flashcards all along. If you can do that, you'll have a nice flashcards ready before you even start the reviewing. And if you haven't done that already, don't sweat it. There are lots of flashcards out there on Amazon. If you Google them, you'll see it. It doesn't really matter what prep companies they come from. They're all very similar. And what you want to do is just get those flashcards of stuff that you don't know. So even when you have the deck in front of you, go through them really quickly, and stuff that you think that you've got it down pretty good, just throw those cards out. You don't want to be reviewing stuff you already know. During the content review and of any type of exam, you want to focus on stuff that's giving you trouble, and you want to be very efficient with that. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is explain systems out loud. There's so many systems and concepts being tested on the AP Biology exam. And for here, I've gotten a few just listed here. You see the digestive system, blood flow, like how the blood flows through the heart and the body, what's the pathway, protein synthesis, DNA or RNA synthesis as well, eukaryotes versus prokaryotes. These are just different concepts and systems that the AP Biology exam tests. And what I mean by explain it out loud, I mean is practice as if you're teaching someone else this concept, okay? So for the digestive system, explain how food is digested throughout the entire body, what organs it goes through, what different type of enzymes are involved, what's the process, is it proteins that are being degraded versus fats versus carbohydrates. Be as specific and detailed as possible. And for things like the protein synthesis, be sure to explain what would happen if something went wrong. What if a specific part of the protein synthesis, one of the ribosomes, was not functioning properly? How would that affect the overall process? What would still able to be occurring, what would not? Thinking in like this and the system as a whole and the different components of it is going to help you with the free response questions, because a lot of these free response questions are testing you on what you know about these entire systems. You might get a free response question that says, here's an organism, here are the specific traits, classify it for us. And then, the practice that you've gotten from explaining eukaryotes versus prokaryotes versus other classifications is going to really help you get into that mindset. And that's going to be really important. So spend a lot of time doing that and be as descriptive as possible. And if you're fumbling, look through your prep book to kind of get more information and develop better responses. Tip number 3, multiple choice and free response question practice. For this, you want to get your hands on those prep books and the multiple choice, in the back of the book or wherever, go through as many questions as possible. The key here is to go through as many questions as possible. So if you're getting stuck on one multiple choice question and you're trying to figure it out in your head, or you're not getting it, spend like 30 seconds to a minute max just reasoning it out as best you can. And if you can't figure it out, go to the solutions manual, go to your prep book, go to your flashcards, and see what you're not getting. Because the goal here is to see as many questions as possible. So spending too much time on just one topic is not going to be the best strategy. You want to see as many questions from different topics in AP Biology, and there are a lot of different topics. So the more questions you get through and answer solutions you see is going to really help you on the multiple choice section. Now, the free response question practice. These you can go on the College Board exam website and you'll see past exams. Click through them and try responding to them as best you can. Be as detailed and as thorough as possible. And after you're done, compare your answers to the student sample responses where graders have, showed like this response was a 5 and was a really good score. Compare your responses to those. See what you're lacking, see how you're similar, and kind of tailor your responses just to those, so that way you're getting the best score that you can. And remember, those flashcards that you're building, you want to do that all along. When you're doing these multiple choice questions, you're getting them wrong. When you're getting the free response questions, you're missing things out. Keep building them and review them 2 to 3 weeks out before your exam, and every night as often as possible. 30 minutes, I'd say, a night. And so there you have it. Those are the 3 simple tips on how to get a 5 on the AP Biology exam. Tip number 1, build flashcards and go through the content review as quickly as possible. Tip number 2, explain systems out loud as if you're teaching someone who's never even heard of biology before. Be as clear and as precise as you can. Tip number 3, do a lot of practice, a lot of multiple choice practice, and a lot of free response question practice. Tip number 3 is where the majority of the learning is going to occur. And so you want to spend at least 60 to 70% of your time studying just on tip number 3. For more information, please check out www.preppedandpolished.com. This wraps up our show, episode number 115, How to Get a 5 on the AP Biology exam. Be on the lookout for our next podcast, episode number 116, our next interview guest episode. Remember to access all of our podcast episodes. Go to www.preppedandpolished.com/podcasts. Thanks for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.